Hello, and welcome to Book 6, Chapter 2 of You Should Be Reading. Today I'd like to talk about Sourcery by Terry Pratchett, the fifth book in the Discworld series. Now, I talked about the first four in previous books of this series, previous chapters and whatnot. I have talked about them quite a bit, and they are a big staple of my reading. I have read through them multiple times over the years, and I have enjoyed them every single time that I've read them. And I like to talk about the books that I have read. I like to, give an idea to people out there of what they are like, people that maybe haven't discovered them. And these ones are good. But Sourcery is a book that I would highly recommend if you like anything by Terry Pratchett. If you have read any of the first four in the Discworld or any of them after, like, Sourcery is great. Now, it's not exactly the first sort of book where Pratchett starts exploring darker concepts. That one kind of goes with Mort, because Mort is a book that's all about death as a character in the series. And death as a character, of course, comes with the fact that people die. It's naturally going to be in darker territory. But Sourcery veers into a slightly different, darker territory, and it's one that kind of pops up and introduces, not entirely. These creatures were introduced in Equal Rights. The things that exist beyond reality, they show up here too, only kind of towards the end. Where the darkness comes from in Sourcery is from the main antagonist. Now, Rincewind, you may remember from The Color of Magic and the Late Fantastic. Rincewind comes back in this novel. He was absent in Equal Rights, he was absent in Mort, but now Rincewind is back. And the luggage is, of course, with him. And the antagonist, Coin, spelled like you think, Coin, C-O-I-N, is an eighth son of an eighth son. Now, 8 is a big number. It's kind of a number that you don't say often in the Discworld. It has negative connotations sometimes. But an eighth son tends to be a wizard, simply because of the lore that he is introducing in this book. The eighth son of an eighth son would also be a wizard, but because it's the eighth son of an eighth son, it's a wizard squared, which, as Mr. Pratchett coined the term, pardon the pun, a sorcerer, which is spelled not S-O-R-C-E-R-O-R, but spelled S-O-U-R-C-E-R-O-R. So it's like a source, a sorcerer, which is why Sourcery is also spelled the way it is, because it is a source of magic. They are a source of magic. And due to the events of things, there is the wizard who was going to be the father of this eighth son, ended up dying, but put his soul and consciousness, for lack of a better term, inside of his staff. And the staff was then given to the baby, the child. And when Coin is like maybe 8 or 10 or 12, very young, goes because he's been learning from his father in the staff, the voice, following his instructions, goes to the Unseen University. But because he's so powerful, because he is a source of magic, he is able to not only do feats of magic that nobody has ever seen, just being in his presence is uplifting all of the other wizards. And this is where the darker stuff starts to come in. This is where he starts writing with like the wizards as they're gaining all this power that they've never really used before. They're able to just do magic so effortlessly because of all the magic in the air, and do stuff that they would take a lot of juice before, and now does not. And as the old saying goes, power corrupts. And the wizards start getting just, very much, I'm better than everybody else because I have magic and I'm going to use it willy nilly. And it starts getting to this point of where our hero, Rincewind, realizes things are going to get bad. And of course, Rincewind being Rincewind, tries to run away, but gets roped into things. And you start getting wizards in other countries getting uplifted because this source of magic is around, and towers start being built, and spells start being flung around back and forth because the wizards are going to be at war. And that's where the darkness that he is exploring in this, the darkness of human nature. Until you get to the end where our hero is somehow Rincewind is face to face with the sorcerer, and has basically come to the conclusion that somebody has to do something. And he knows he's going to die. Like, he knows it. There's no way he has any sort of magic power, even with all the magic power around and him being able to, like, actually do stuff. He knows that's not. You can't use this magic to defeat a source of magic. Like, he has it in his mind, like he knows this isn't the right way. And how does he go about trying to beat this wizard? With a half brick and a sock, which of course gets the sorcerer's attention, because he's like thinking, well, is it a magic weapon? And it's like, no, it's just a half brick and a sock. And it's like, well, what does it do? And it's like, it's a half brick. It's half of a brick. It doesn't do anything. And the more Rincewind is explaining this to him, the more the young boy gets interested. And the talking to the boy is what saves the day, because Rincewind being Rincewind knows what it's like to be bullied, and he can absolutely tell that this young boy is being bullied by the spirit, the ghost, the soul of his father, of the staff. The staff is making him do a lot of these things and act the way that he does. And he doesn't want to be that way. And through Rincewind, he manages to convince the boy to basically reject everything that the staff represents, you know, power and ruling and all this and that. And it is a touching moment at the end, because it's not power that saves the day, but humility, compassion. And these sorts of things are why Pratchett is great at what he does with these stories. Why I think Sourcery is one of the best of the old books. My favorite is still Mort of the old books. Within the first, like, 10 to 15, those are what I kind of consider the old Discworld novels. Mort is my favorite, hands down. It's one of the best out there. Though when I get to them, I may end up changing my mind. I reserve my right to change my mind. But Sourcery is up there. It just has this great moment of Rincewind being Rincewind, and just trying to get people to not be horrible to each other. But is like kind of a climactic thing that happens, and everything seems to kind of go back the way it was, though Rincewind is missing, and the sorcerer is still around after he has put things back the way they are, but he's trying to not use his power, but he finds that it's too easy. It's just too easy for him to use his power in this place. It's too easy to change things. And one of the final scenes is the boy deciding that he has no place in this world. And so he uses his magic to create a new world that he then goes into and closes the way behind him and leaves the Discworld forever. And it's a bittersweet ending to the book, but it's one of the better books out there. So yes, that's me rambling on about this book, and it's kind of a summary of it, but there's so much in such a small book that really highlights and delves into some darker undertones. I do like it. But thank you all for joining me on this episode of You Should Be Reading. I hope you have learned a little something about the book. If you haven't read it, maybe this might convince you to go and check it out. If you are coming to me for non-spoilerish reasons and you want to hear my opinion about a book without being spoilerish, well, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes I need to talk about a book, and I need to delve into it and really, really pick it apart in my brain and talk about the things that I like. Sometimes I have to do that. But yes, thank you all so much for joining me. If you like the videos that I'm doing here on my channel, please consider subscribing. Give the like button a little tap. Ring the bell if you want to be notified when videos go live on this channel. Leave a comment. If you've read Terry Pratchett, if you've read the Discworld, what is your favorite Discworld book? Which one sits at the top of the heap? Please, I would love to hear from you. Also, if you have any suggestions for books that I should check out, leave them in the comments as well below. And until next time, remember, you should be reading Sourcery by Terry Pratchett. And I'll see you next time.